The US is a bit scared to enter the war against Iran because they're not sure if their bunker busters can actually get to the nuclear facilities. The reason why that scares them is that they know Iran does not have a nuclear bomb and they are nowhere near obtaining a nuclear weapon.
You ever feel like we just know way too much about this stuff as far as the general public is concerned? I think we do. I think we know way too much about this stuff. And why is that? Why is that? It's because every political decision that is made in Washington, D.C. has to be decided in the court of public opinion before it's made. Because everyone in Washington, D.C.'s first priority is keeping their poll numbers up and getting reelected. Therefore, everything they do is decided in the court of public opinion first. Now, one, that's a symptom of a very sick society, and two, that's okay in many cases. But for three, there are many instances where that is extremely harmful to the mission. If the mission is Iran, we are doing nothing to help by broadcasting all of our plans. And by say broadcasting, I mean Donald Trump himself cannot stop talking about it. All of these people have insiders, have people on the inside that are more than willing to give whatever information they can to the press. The politicians won't stop talking about it. I just feel like we are telegraphing a lot of our plans, and it makes absolutely no sense to me. There is absolutely things that our government has to do that we have no business knowing about. That's just the reality of life. That is the reality of living in this world, and always has been. Always has been. It doesn't mean we can't find out about it later. It doesn't mean that everything has to be a secret. But it certainly feels like we're just telling anyone and everyone everything we plan to do or are considering doing. I don't feel like I should know a lot of this stuff. I just don't. At what point does openly broadcasting everything we want or plan to do and, putting all this stuff out into the public to try to win the approval of the public, at what point does that potentially endanger U.S. soldiers stationed at U.S. bases overseas? At what point does it, potentially endanger Americans right here on American soil? You have to know that's a thing. You have to know that. I think a lot of it largely comes down to the fact that there's not a lot of trust left for our government, regardless of whether you are a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, and for very good reason. But the fact of the matter is, if anyone else was in office in the White House, we would likely know a lot less about this. They would be a lot more tight-lipped. The information we would have would be very limited. Assuming it would even be occurring, we don't even know that this would be occurring if someone else was in office. But let's just say it was occurring no matter what. This is a great example of the incompetence of the Trump administration. Just the fact that we know so much about this situation. This is a reflection of who is in office of the United States of America. And a complete lack of understanding of how important it is for a lot of this information to not be being debated and hashed out in the public space. It puts people's lives in danger. It risks the overall mission. Whether the mission is peace, diplomacy, negotiation, and to get out of this thing, it puts that at risk too, is what I'm saying. It's not just risk of people's lives. It's risk of everything. The odds of us having to intervene or choosing to intervene into this situation militarily are being escalated drastically by the amount of information that is out in the public space about this situation, is what I'm saying. There's no discipline. There's no understanding. There's no basic understanding of how this stuff should go. Because the entire situation is being tried in the court of public opinion. Because people are so worried about their poll numbers and getting reelected. They are willing to put people's lives at risk for that. And I think a lot of people miss that in these situations. The fact that so many people have so much knowledge about something they shouldn't. And a lot of people in the United States will say, well, we should know. No, you shouldn't. There are things you should not know, and you should be okay with that. The fact that you know everything, and in this day and age is debated publicly, puts our goals at risk, and it puts our goals at harm. Period. And you can achieve an amount of transparency, I believe. You can achieve an amount of transparency that is enough to satisfy the public's need for that transparency, but also not compromise the overall mission, whatever it is. Whether it's peace, diplomacy, war, whatever it is, that should not be compromised. Something we are missing, once again, under a Trump administration.